welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Washington and Michigan battle for the national title. The Bills top the Dolphins, and Draymond Green says that Adam Silver had to talk him out of retirement. But we begin today with the customary Black Monday firings in the NFL. As expected, Atlanta fired Arthur Smith after 3 straight 7-10 seasons, and Washington fired Ron Rivera after 4 seasons of 26-40-1 and no playoffs the last 3. Hanging over all of this, though, is the future of Bill Belichick in New England after yet another dismal loss yesterday at home to the Jets. Wilbon, your thoughts on what has happened and what hasn't?
Well, Tony, it's always sort of a business as usual day, and you know coaches are going to be fired. You know people are going to be shifting around or maybe losing their jobs and may not be able to reclaim one anytime soon. So it's not a happy day. And in my case, Ron Rivera is somebody I know and like and respect. And you knew this was coming, Tony. None of this is a surprise. Right. Nobody got canned and you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? These things have been rumored and reported and dealt with for days and days, if not weeks. The Bill Belichick thing is obviously enormous. That's enormous. Because now we're just waiting. We're playing the waiting game. And it's like this person's reporting and this radio station in Boston and this newspaper in New England. And we're going to go through that now for as long as this needs before it's resolved. And you and I texted yesterday, I don't see Bill Belichick coaching anywhere else. I don't. Maybe he will. Maybe there's compensation. Maybe he thinks at 72 years old, which he'll be soon, it's fine. I don't see that. But that's the story. That's the enduring story.
Yeah, you cannot make any case to retain Arthur Smith or Ron Rivera. They never had a winning season. They didn't develop a quarterback, and their top picks weren't any good. So the story is Bill Belichick, what has happened to this point and what hasn't happened yet. He hasn't left New England yet. He sounded actually rather accommodating to the notion that he wouldn't be the general manager anymore, that he would just be the coach. He sounded cooperative. And what that makes me think, Mike, is this, that if he leaves, it will be because he is fired and not because he is quitting voluntarily. Mike, I watched a lot of games, obviously all of them yesterday on Red Zone. You cannot overstate how terrible Carolina and New England are offensively. They don't even threaten to score touchdowns. I know New England was in the snow, but I'm talking about the whole year. They have the fewest amount of points in the entire league. They average a shade under 14 points a game on offense. With Carolina, Mike, you can say the owner's a buffoon and has made all the wrong calls. But in New England, you can't blame anybody but Belichick. These are his groceries, right?
And
These are his picks.
He says he's going to work every day and does what he does, which speaks to your point about not quitting, going to have to be fired. He says, I'm going to work every day and do what I do to make these players better. It seems, it does. A little standoff wouldn't be a bad thing. On the field, the Bills beat the Dolphins last night to take the number 2 seed in the AFC. Deontay Hardy's 96-yard punt return, you don't see that anymore, turned around the games for the Bills. And Miami's vaunted offense stalled out in the second half. Tony, the Bills have been all over the place all regular season. Are you bullish on their playoff prospects?
Okay, so they have won 5 games in a row, and among those 5, I am pretty sure, are Dallas, Kansas City, and Miami. So you would think that people would say, oh, you don't want any part of the Bills in the playoffs. But, Mike, I feel a little differently. I don't think they pass the eye test. I don't think they're particularly awesome. I like Josh Allen a lot. He's big, he's strong. When he runs, he's really good. But he throws an interception every game, it seems. The other day, he had 2 interceptions. Last night, 2 interceptions. And what does it mean to beat Miami? Miami is a ridiculously overrated team. They're not healthy and they're not dependable against good teams. They were at home yesterday. They scored 14 points. So please spare me about how their offense is completely unstoppable. Stop with this.
Yeah, I agree. Going back to Buffalo, Tony, look, this is who they are. I mean, this is not, you mentioned Josh Allen and their despair over the interceptions, but they won those 2 games you just mentioned with him throwing interceptions. He's going to throw interceptions. Look, people now want to act like the NFL playoffs are a series of games. It's not a series of games. It's one damn game. So Buffalo can beat anybody left in the tournament in one game. They can. What are those chances? Are we talking about 51-49? We talking 55-45? Buffalo shouldn't be out of anything. I'm not going to be bullish on their chances, but I'm not going to sit here and have overreaction Monday, which is what we do with the NFL. Now, every network, every show goes crazy in some stupid direction about what's going to happen or not happen. Buffalo's good enough to beat anybody in the AFC. And by the way, who's great in the AFC with the possible exception of Baltimore? And the answer is nobody. They're all flawed.
Okay, we move now to tonight's college championship game between undefeated Michigan and undefeated Washington. They couldn't have drawn this up any better. Wilbon, you were a sports writer long ago. What would be the better story, Michigan winning after its season of controversy or Washington winning in the last season of the Pac-12?
Usually, I hate this question because it depends entirely on your perspective and your biases, and we all have them. And so the better story I can make, I could go either way like a lawyer. I could. But in this case, I don't hate the question today because I think there's a clear-cut winner in the storytelling category, and that would be Washington, UW, because their conference is going away, at least as we know it now. I'm convinced, I know you're not, that the Pac-12 is going to pop up again by that name with a bunch of schools any moment now, and there'll be a Pac-12, and we'll be saying, oh, their records are going to convey and blah, 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 blah. But for right now, they're going away, and the Pac-12 has been treated like some sort of like the sixth conference in the Power Five. So I think UW winning, and I'm sort of rooting for Michigan, Big Ten guy that I am, I think UW winning probably makes for the easier and perhaps the better story.
This is so wonderful. This is why we should cover this game together. I could not disagree more. The University of Washington winning, to me, is a very lovely, sentimental story because the Pac-12 is going away, which is incredible to me. At one point, they had more basketball and football championships than any other conference. And now they're gone, and now they're defunct. And in fact, next year, I believe, Stanford plays a road game at Syracuse, which is insane. But I think the better story is Michigan for a very specific reason. Everybody knows Jim Harbaugh. They don't know the Washington coach. 50% of the people love Harbaugh. 50% of the people are sick of Harbaugh. Harbaugh missed 6 games this year, Mike. Either Michigan told him or the Big Ten told him, sit down, shut up, you're not in these games. The fact that Michigan hung in there and won those games is fascinating to me. I would rather hear Michigan's players talk about how they got here if they win than Washington's players be sentimental about a conference that's just going to disappear and in 5 years nobody will know anything about it. Let's take a break. Sticking with our theme of referencing the national championship game, on this day 6 years ago as a true freshman, Tua led Alabama to the national title with a shocking overtime touchdown pass to fellow freshman Devontae Smith. Tua had replaced starter Jalen Hurts after a slow start and helped Bama outscore Georgia 20-7 in the second half to force overtime. After Georgia kicked a field goal, Tua took a bad sack on Alabama's first play of overtime. And then, on 2nd and 26, Tua threw the pass that won the game. So watch Nick Saban go from disgusted to euphoric. Since Ohio State won the first college playoff game 10 years ago, only SEC or ACC teams have won this title, and that will change tonight.
Tua and Hurts and Tua. Just like in the NFL playoffs now. They're just going to go on forever together, it seems. And that's got to be Nick Saban's dream, right? To see them face each other in a Super Bowl. Wouldn't that be the ultimate, sort of cheers to Nick Saban?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think, because I don't think Mac Jones is going to get there. Happy trails, Chris Paul. The veteran guard in his first season in Golden State broke his left hand. He will have surgery. He will miss 4 to 6 weeks. In 19 NBA seasons, Paul has had 5 surgeries on his left hand and 6 on his right hand. In other Warriors news, Draymond Green's suspension is over after 12 games. He's expected to play after a week of ramping up. On his podcast, Green said he told Adam Silver he was going to retire. And he said Silver told him he would not let him retire. It's hard to look at this and not think Silver is doing everything he can to get the Warriors into the playoffs, knowing that the Warriors and the Lakers are the 2 biggest TV draws he has. Both teams below 500 and battling for 10th place in the West.
Man, I have tremendous respect for Adam Silver, but this decision to me just seems off. It seems weak, bringing Draymond Green back that quickly. I would need to hear more about that. But Tony, yeah, I mean, I think the Warriors have an easier path, not easier, a more reasonable path out of this onto something perhaps than the Lakers. Because Draymond Green is going to come back, and I think Draymond Green is going to be really, really good. And you know I wish the best for my friend Chris Paul. I'm hoping he gets back and is healthy late in the season in the playoffs when it counts most.
I understand all that. I agree with you. It's a weak decision, though. Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Tiger Woods is parting ways with Nike after 27 years. Does that make sense to
Not
you?
really. I mean, the clubs have been gone for a while. There's no equipment. He's got the swoosh on the hat. I know it's not Jumpman on a logo like Michael, but, Rafael Nadal pulled out of the Australian Open with a micro tear in his muscle. Disappointed?
Yeah, but I'm not surprised. Nobody's surprised. Rafael Nadal puts his body through more than any tennis player ever.
Yeah.
His body breaks down. Giannis said the Bucks had no pride on defense in a loss to the Rockets. Your thoughts?
My first thought is to think of Adrian Griffin, the rookie head coach, whose defense hasn't been as good as previous defenses on that team where they won a championship. The Dodgers signed outfielder Teoscar Hernandez. Is that significant?
Well, he strikes out a lot, but he has a lot of power. The Dodgers are loaded. They're loaded. Last one, your boy Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
He's on the IR with a broken jaw. Your reaction?
It's a cheap shot that broke his jaw. And if he's going to be out 7 days, and that's what we're hearing, he'll be back for the All-Star game, and he's our only All-Star. Want Bedard back for that.
7 days with a broken jaw.
Tough.
Ask me about hernia surgery. We're out of time. We'll try to do better the next time. And Ken and Anita Adams, thank you.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads.